President Emmanuel Macron has presented his agenda for France's stint at the helm of the European Union. He wants to boost the bloc's role on the world stage. But how much can he achieve, and what obstacles does he face? DW's Brussels correspondent Christine Mundwa reports.
I've arrived in Paris today because France has taken over the presidency of the European Union. And for the next 6 months, the agenda for Europe, if you want to call it that, will be set here in Paris. What's clear is that the French President Emmanuel Macron has big ambitions for Europe. He wants Europe, in his own words, to be more powerful in the world.
In the heart of Paris, the country's most recognizable monument now wears a circle of stars to mark the EU presidency France last held 13 years ago. The position gives the French more influence over the future of the European Union. A more capable Europe, with its own army, is Paris's topmost ambition. It's referred to as strategic autonomy.
What that means is a more sovereign, more independent Europe, particularly when it comes to the issue of defense.
Do you feel that Europe needs to be more stronger?
Well, I'm not sure that that's a good idea, but I think that we depend too much on the United States now.
We would be taken more seriously by other countries if we had a European army.
Before we have an army, let's have a union.
France's agenda for the Union also includes relaxing rules to allow EU countries to borrow more money to finance big infrastructure projects, and trying to bring the bloc to consensus on the long-standing thorny issue of migration. In December, Emmanuel Macron summed up the goal of France's EU presidency this way.
We need to move from being a Europe of cooperation inside our borders to a powerful Europe in the world, fully sovereign, free to make its choices and master of its destiny.
But Macron's own destiny is in question. France is holding a presidential election in April. If he doesn't get re-elected, he can't see his plans for Europe through.
And let's bring in now Jacob Ross of the German Council on Foreign Relations in Berlin. Jacob, tell us, Macron has never really made any secret of his ambitions to be the motor of further European integration. To what extent does the EU presidency now give him the platform to fulfill that goal?
Thank you. Well, first of all, as we have seen with Mr. Macron's press conference in December, he set a series of summits for the upcoming or for the current French Council presidency, including a summit on the European Union, African Union, or Europe-Africa relations in February, a summit on European defense in March, and another summit on the future of the European economic model in March as well. So, as you said earlier, the French and the French government, Mr. Macron, have the tools now to set the agenda, to bring their priorities to the European stage and discuss them with other member states.
And beyond, discussing, when we talk about actual results coming out of those summits, talk with us about the prospects for further European integration. France and Germany, of course, two of the most powerful nations in the EU. We know Germany has a new government. How are things between Paris and Berlin right now in pushing that agenda forward?
Well, things looked very good at the end of last year. It's only been a couple of days in the new year, but so far I think Paris is having a positive, seeing positive signals coming from Berlin. We saw that with Chancellor Scholz visiting the Elysée in December. The new foreign minister, Ms. Baerbock, the Green foreign minister from Germany, visiting her counterpart in Paris in December as well. And so I think the French are very optimistic for the Franco-German relations and for the impact of these relations for the European cooperation in the coming weeks and months. Just to give a few examples, I think, as I mentioned, there will be the summit in March on European defense. There will probably be news on the strategic compass, the big project on European defense and security. French President Macron and Mr. Scholz, but also the other heads of states and government from the European member state, will try to find a compromise and to bring into reality what Mr. Macron indeed called passing from or giving Europe a bigger stance in international affairs.
How about support domestically for Macron's agenda? We know that he's facing domestic elections, for example, and he set the bar at the EU level very high, saying, I'm quoting here, 2022 must be the year of a European turning point. Does he have the public support?
I think he has the public support, but as we have seen recently at the turn of the year, this public support is or could be prone to attacks and can shift. The French put up, or the French government, I should say, put up a European flag under the Arc de Triomphe, a very symbolic place on top of the tomb of the unknown soldier in the center of Paris. And immediately you saw attacks on the domestic scene from political opponents, predominantly from the political right, the extreme right, but also Ms. Pécresse from the moderate right, Les Républicains. So I think Mr. Macron knows that he has a clear majority of French voters who are pro-European and who want to see progress in European projects. But these ideas or this majority will constantly be under attack until the elections in early April.
Jacob Ross from the German Council on Foreign Relations, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, for more on that, let's bring in Hatim Shehata, a researcher at the German Council on Foreign Relations here in Berlin. Macron has never made any secret of his ambition to be the motor for further European integration. Does the EU presidency give him a welcome platform to put his European record to the forefront?
Well, to be honest, I think Macron has now the chance to really prove that he's very pro-European, that his ambitions that he's already mentioned in 2017 at Sorbonne University are not very far away from reality. So now he has the chance to really prove to Germany as its closest ally in Europe and also to other member states that he can really succeed in what he has planned for Europe.
Well, you mentioned Germany there. France and Germany are, of course, the two most powerful nations in the EU, and nothing moves in the EU without at least one of the two supporting it. How are things right now between Paris and Berlin?
Well, I think with the new German government, there are definitely some constraints now to the relationship of France and Germany. So with the discussion about EU taxonomy, there is kind of a misunderstanding in between those two countries. So France on the one side wants to push forward its nuclear agenda, whereas Germany wants to push forward renewable energies. So this is one of the main points of discussion that we observe at this point.
Is that a big dispute? How much will it strain relations?
Well, I think right now is the time to discuss things. So Macron has now the chance to approach the other member states, especially Germany, and he now has the chance to convince other member states of his ideas. And I'm not very sure if Germany is going to really accept his ideas when it comes to nuclear energy. So Germany will definitely oppose it, but it is the chance to really find a solution and a compromise. And this is, I think, the most basic idea of the rotating EU presidency, to find compromise and to gather the member states at one table and to really discuss things.
So, well, Macron has set the bar very high, saying 2022 must be the year of a European turning point. How big is this support for this by the French public, you think?
Well, as I already mentioned, Macron has put forward his ideas already in 2017 during his presidential election campaign. And it was perceived as very, very progressive by a lot of French citizens. So the French public has shown itself to be very pro-European during this campaign and the following years. And I would even go one step further and say that the French do like the idea of having considerable influence on an EU level to, of course, push forward certain political issues that they have interest in. And even those who are not very likely to support Macron's ideas of what the EU should look like in the future want France to shine during the next 6 months, even though they may not want to change Europe in a Macronist way. So I would say that the majority of France will support the idea of changing Europe in either one way or another.
Hatim Shahata there from the German Council on Foreign Relations. Thank you very much for your analysis.
Thank you.